Can one human being have a huge effect on reality? Welcome to Philosopher's Corner. I'm John. Can one human being have a huge effect on reality? Yeah. We've been asking about this really since the beginning of time. One of the questions that we've had in each of our human minds is in relation to essentially sociological leadership and organization and the effects that one person can have. It's built in ever since our tribal days, and we're hanging out and we're trying to figure out how to survive, and our mirror neurons kick in and we're starting to individuate and differentiate, and we're comparing and contrasting, and maybe even we're thinking about who we are a little bit and all these things, and we're just trying to figure out, where do we shake out? Where do we calibrate? How do we compare to other humans? Because in the comparison, we find out who we are. And then in finding out who we are, we find out what our utility is. We find out how we can contribute to the group. And then throughout all of these social evolutions, there's always an underlying question in each of our minds as to, is there a limit to the size and scale of the effect that one person can have? And then, of course, the corollary question of that is, am I that person? Do I have that in me? And in hunter-gatherer days, it might have just been one guy thinking like, oh, maybe I can be like the top buffalo hunter or the top cave finder or whatever for my group of 10 or 15 people. And in modern times, it's people are asking, well, can I become the richest person on earth, and can I affect all the human beings on the planet? So the size and the scale of the philosophical question has changed, but the question remains the same. Can one human essentially affect everyone? And now that we've been historically down the line long enough, the clear answer is yes. And many, many people, ranging from good effects to bad effects, have found a way to affect the entire species. Well, that's an interesting notion to put out there, and we know it's true. Whether it's Attila the Hun or Stalin or Hitler or Gandhi or Buddha or Muhammad or Jesus Christ, you have people who are all born human, lived a human life, and through the course of their life had this agreed upon outsized effect on the species they live in, and then, because they're humans, on all the other species as well. Just had an effect on life on the planet itself. Which, when we really analyze that, that's pretty astounding. Right? It's not like there's plenty of queen ants, right? Or queen bees, let's say. There's plenty of queen bees on Earth. But how many queen bees in the history of Earth have affected all of the life on the planet to the point where we know that it's that exact one? Like, oh yeah, queen bee Xena, yeah, back in like 1585, and she was in Belgium, had that hive, and then all the animals on Earth were like, man, what's queen bees eat? I mean, right? But humans regularly put out people who affect the entire planet, and they don't always do it with pre-existing infrastructure. Sometimes they're the ones who create the infrastructure to have the effect. Suspending all moral judgments one way or the other, just analyzing the effect itself, like the absolute effect, that's an interesting phenomenon. And then we can also further take more data from that and say, okay, so now it's proven multiple times on different parts of the planet in different eras throughout wildly different cultural epochs that one individual can be born and rise up and infect all the other humans on the planet. And there's really no rhyme or reason to it. It can happen anywhere. It can come from any background. So what does that say about humans? Well, for one, it means that we're automatically set to have leaders, and that the leadership infrastructures are set to amplify effects, and that we accept leaders, good and bad leaders. There's something about the ascent of a leader that appeals to the design of human beings. That's undeniable, both good and bad. Both tasteful and distasteful. Like, it's like we've had madmen and enlightened men rule the world, and that seems to be a thing that we're comfortable with. Maybe even more than comfortable. It seems to be like a part of our design. It's also a case that human beings are in fact set up and designed to accommodate and optimize the experience of the individual. Aside from analyzing all of the fallout of the good or the bad that these individuals have in this outsized way, when we look at their life, we can analyze it and say, from a perspective that a species is designed to have a particular life experience on the planet, and we analyze what humans are up to and the outsized life impact the individual can have and has been demonstrated to have, that's strong evidence that the human experience is really set up to optimize the experience for the individual consciousness that's having it. The size, the scale, the impact, because the lessons that individual learns, the amount of energy that individual is conducting, the amount of people they're connected to, the ripple they're having in the time-space effect, just any way you look at it, just the overall effect, they become a personal singularity. They've heightened the individual experience to such a point that they have an outsized effect on the entire reality. Incomparable to any of the other species that we can scan on Earth and say, oh, do any other individuals, members of these animal species, do they have a recorded effect in comparison to individual humans having an effect? And the answer is no. They just don't. And so that gives us a clear look at what I'm inferring is the design of the human species, and what are some of the existential options that whatever or whomever created us, or whatever process created us that has this design in it, because clearly there's an order to things in this dimension that gave rise to this ability, this access to have possibly the most heightened individual experience that's available in creation. To just have one human body and be able to affect all the other humans and the entire planet, that's a tremendous amount of resonance for one physical body to have. It's tremendous by any stretch. Not to mention the fact that as we expand and connect into the local solar system and into the galaxy, and we connect with other civilizations that certainly will appear or have appeared, the influence of an individual human being is going to be felt off Earth as well. It's going to resonate through the cosmos to other places. And that's pretty wild. It also adds more credence to the idea that the real allure, or maybe one of the optimum benefits of having a human life, is the ability to have an optimized individual experience as a spiritual consciousness in a physical material plane. Yeah. So, yeah, was it? Can one individual human being have a huge impact on Earth? I think that's the question, right? Yeah. The answer is yes, obviously. But come to your own conclusion. This is philosophy. It's open source thinking. You got to think for yourself with philosophy. Remember, at the end of the day, you can watch all these videos, and you can think everything I'm saying is like right on. But ultimately, philosophy is about using your intellectual faculties to inquire, to know yourself, to know the world, and then to achieve clarity in your own way. So you got to think for yourself. Philosophy's typical: lead the horse to water, but horse has got to do the philosophizing for himself. So, well, as always, it's nice having you here. I hope you found it helpful, and have fun.